So it's been the best part of a year since the last update, but don't worry, it's here. The chairlift featured in the previous video was just a refined version of that featured in the first, but even while I was making that video, I wasn't satisfied. The chairlift was a jumbled mess of quick fixes based on a design I had first made a year prior, when I didn't know anything about how to go about building a ropeway. As such, to make any real progress, I would have to design a new platform from the ground up, keeping the lessons from the previous version in mind, which is what I did. So, here were some flaws in the first version and how I went about fixing them. First, the pylon was flimsy, so I stiffened it. Having a brickway down the station was frankly silly, so I got rid of it and designed the rope to have less tension. The old brick-built base was chunky yet weak and brittle. The new one uses Technic beams and is thinner, so the chairs can be 2 studs wider. Gone are the separated upper and lower frames. Now the frame is one solid unit. Stumped as to why I didn't do this in the first version too. The chain going around the bend was unreliable, so I used wheels instead. This meant I had to have a method of spacing out the chairs in case they got too close together, because this job was no longer being done by the chain. So I developed this sequencer mechanism that, when a chair passes by, stops one of the drive wheels for a period of time, so that there is a sufficient gap between each chair. Of course, this is much easier said than done. All of this took lots of iteration over about 6 months. Once I was happy with the second version, I used it to design the station on the other side in Stud.io, a CAD program for LEGO. This was useful because I could find out what pieces I had already and what I needed to buy. Once everything arrived, I put it together and discovered that my brand new station ran imperfectly. When I was designing it, I swapped out these extra wheels that drove the rope for a chain between the bull wheel and the main axle, which would mean less slippage, because the bull wheel, being bigger, has more contact with the rope than 2 smaller wheels. It's also simpler and requires fewer gears and axles with high loads, therefore it's more efficient. For this to work though, the motor must drive the rope at the same speed as the first station. Assuming the gearing between the motor and the drive wheels is the same in both stations, if this number equals 1, pause for the maths, then all is well. But all is not well in the new station, because this needs a gear with 54 teeth, which LEGO doesn't make. They do make a 48 tooth gear, which I thought would be good enough, but this chain said otherwise. So I went back into my CAD model, shifted some things about and retrofitted in the old design, and as it turns out, even with only one small wheel, rope slip isn't an issue anyway. In its current state, it's decently reliable. It runs for maybe 5 or 10 minutes between breakdowns, and even then the faults aren't serious. That's thanks to lots of optimization, and I don't think there's much untapped performance left in this version, so once again any big improvements would have to come from a ground up redesign. On that note, I thought I would end by addressing some of the comments left by my biggest fans on the last 2 updates. It's quite cool actually, thank you. It's ugly, that is mean, and also fine. If I wanted to make it pretty, I put a shell on it, but as this was an exercise in engineering, not product design, I didn't bother, and it's cheaper to buy Lego when you don't specify what colour you want. Tutorial please? No, because they take ages to make and you wouldn't follow them anyway. If you really think you would, there are people with ropeways much better than mine who have made instructions. All in all, very civil, keep it up. I do reply when it's worthwhile. Cheerio.